that you probably expected me to say the favorite word, hotep. I don't say it because I have more people to give recognition to than hotep, and I would prefer to say good afternoon, women. The subject matter is rather important, and I think it's the most important subject that I ever could speak on, and that would be the African mother. I say that because for the African there would be no one if it were not for the African mother. That brings the question among African men particularly, how could the African mother be such without the African father? If you're a Christian, you wouldn't ask the question because you presume it in terms of Mary, and she was supposed to have been pregnant without a man. So if you can be a Christian, then you understand the proposition, and you have lived it, at least you pretend to, by stating that the question of Mary and the question of Christianity is correct. I do not mean it in that context. I said that the African mother is the first human to have had a child, whether she get it from the father. Because since fathers don't have children, not that I know of, and I don't think any one of you presumptuous enough to say that you know a man who gave birth to a child. And that's even if you assume there was a person called Adam, and if Adam gave birth to a child, his rectum must have been seriously damaged. And I don't think that you're willing to produce a seriously damaged rectum for anybody to see or deal with it historically. So considering those facts, I think you will agree that the first person to give birth to a child has been a woman, whether or not it's been the Immaculate Conception, and I take issue with that unless you're willing to say fate, not fact. And fate could be misunderstood for fact. I think that the issue that we are having is the conception of words, the meaning of words. We believe in a lot of things that we dare not try to show anyone. And I think when we're talking about religion and in the house of religions, I know I wouldn't say anything that would be contemptuous, but I would say things that may be not acceptable. So this afternoon we are talking about the real mother, the real goddess, the real deity above all other deities. And we speak of it in our commitment, whether it be Friday night as a Muslim, Saturday night as a Jew, a Hebrew rather, and Sunday as a Christian. And in either case, in all three of these religions who have denied the birth of themselves, in all three of these religions you find the one in charge is primarily the African man. And in all three of these religions, the one who gives birth to that African man is an African woman. Thus, I've taken the position that, for me, I remember now in this particular case I'm speaking for myself, for me, the deity is a woman whom I met. I met the woman who gave birth to me. I met her, I'm sure, the first day of birth, but I can't recall that. I can recall, however, at a very early age, having met this woman, that my consciousness, remember, feeding me, and feeding me through the matter of her breasts. She had two of them, and she was using the left breast, and I was lying comfortable back by her, keeping me in the position and nursing me. I never had the misfortune of using Similac or any of those attributes. I used the milk of my mother, and my mother never gave me milk once that you bought in the can or anything like that, because she said if she intended to give me cow milk, she would have made sure that I was born from a cow. But I was born from a woman, therefore I should have woman's milk. And since women don't have cow milk, then she fed me woman's milk. I've not been unfortunate like you that feel you have to have milk, and so you would go out and buy cow milk. When I need milk, I get me a woman and I nurse her. I don't go and get a cow, because I don't think you see anything in the matter of a cow on me. We don't relate together. So you may be mad with me for going and getting woman's milk, but I think that was the best. Some of you may think that it's even abominable to speak about woman's milk. That is because you have never had woman milk. You're born from a cow, so you went and got cow milk. I born from a woman, so I got woman milk when I want milk. All right, so since we understand each other, first we have to make it clear. If you know any man who have given birth to a woman or a man or a child, then you can stop my discussion, because I would not be telling the truth. I maintain that women give birth to every man on earth. And if someone knows somebody other than a man on earth, a man elsewhere, please state it now, and there will be no need for me to speak. I will continue, since I don't think that there's anyone that crazy to get up and say that they know of anything other than the woman who have given birth to man and earth. Since we don't know of man anywhere else, then my position would be rational. You see, most of us have not had much of reading with respect to women other than in our slavery, in our colonialism, I should say, and which continues. We're the best dressed up slaves I've ever seen. All of us consider ourselves not slaves, and we will argue the point. Then I said, since we're not slaves, let's act like it. And I don't think that you're willing to act like it, because you can't act like it, or the United States will show you by virtue of pulling out her armed forces. And I don't think that most of us, I wouldn't say all of us, most of us, I don't think would be ready for physical combat against the United States. We don't even plan it. We don't even think of it. It is a remote concept in our mind that we will have to ever one day stand up against the United States. You ask, why don't we ever challenge the system other than talking it? Because we're not ready for it. And that's why I listen to many statements, and I listen and listen again and continue to listen, because nothing is going to happen. As I said, I don't go to marches. I don't go to marches in front of embassies. I don't go to marches any of those places, because when I go to a march of that nature, I don't expect returning to my home. I don't expect anything, because if I ever find myself there, I find myself with the equipment to get me to where I expect to go to the end. So I don't attend. And then many of my friends don't understand why, but I guess I explain it enough in my meetings with them. They just not paying any attention to me and figure, what, he's joking. And so the question of the female of the goddess, you will notice that the man who write these things down and who have written them in the past and control writing them now and will seem to be doing it in the future, establish in what is called the sacred and most holy documents that which he controls. The attitude that went through this whole thing is the one that I constantly question certain, or I say most women, is how can they agree and stand it for all these years? I want to know, how can a woman accept that a man gave birth to the first child and that there was a man named Adam who gave birth to Eve by virtue of his rib cage? If the man had given birth to Eve through his penis, there would have been some logic to it and which I might not have contended. But through his rib cage, and there's no damage to his ribs, or I try to reason physically, how could the child have come out, let's say a 3-pounder, I go as the chance of survival, and the woman still stay and go to church, go to synagogue, go to the mosque every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and never question the possibility. What is it within the gospel or any religious tract that tells her that this thing happened to the point that she can respect it? With all the women revolutionary movement going on today, challenging things that men wrote, why doesn't the woman challenge the Adam and Eve statement? I could give you a possibility of why not, and it's all based upon fear. Fear of being hurt one way or the other. It can't be hurt by pain, because if she's a mother, she knows what pain is. And I don't know more excruciating pain than childbirth other than death. It's a process that will lead to death, and death has come quite often. Then what it is? Conditioning of the mind. It's got to be conditioning of the mind, like today, to sit there and admit that you, a mother, the only one could be a mother in the human race, because there's only one human race. We have make all kinds of moderation to justify all kinds of scheme. But whether you're white, black, brown, technicolor, and even green that you had, you are a member of the human race. And you may vary by being a member of a group within the human race, an ethnic group. But nevertheless, you're still of the human race. And if you mate with any other race, you're going to get nothing or maybe a kick. Raised with a donkey, a female donkey up here, of course, Jenny, you may get your brain kicked out. And that's all you're going to get. But if you rape with a woman as white, green, technicolor, you may get an offspring. These are realities. The ethnicity and so forth has been based upon the Europeans telling us in some school and get mad, and we must answer to sort of in the brainwashing. First he brainwashed himself. But in the process, I would recognize the ethnicity of people of being germane, because since I can't go outside and create a system that will recognize the ethnicity as being just that, it becomes another race in the system in which I live. And I'm forced to follow this, and I'm not young as I used to be in my teen to challenge the United States against with military forces, because I understand that when you say with your group in consultation, we are going to do this, so many within that group may say yes and not ready to do it. And that among the people within the group may cause the group itself to be damaged beyond capacity to repair their mind from past experience. So when we're talking about God, I think, and the goddess, and since in Egypt there is no God without a goddess and no goddess without a god, all of them have the opposite. But the argument continues up to now as to who was the first, like the chicken and the egg situation, and I've never seen an egg lay a chicken. I've always seen a chicken lay an egg, so I know who come first. Now, you may not agree with it. Go on with your argument. I don't have time to waste. Thus, it is the rationale for my conclusion is based upon human living and experience. I know that is not too popular around the young, and I don't know who's young, because I'm younger than the man 77. I'm 76. So I could say I'm the young, and he's the old, because it would be a fact. Then somebody would just say, I'm younger than you too. I'm 72, and so on and so on. But what we need within the system we live in is the recognition of reality. And we cannot have this reality unless the men among us are willing to deal with a truth of reality. We see constantly, even though we come forward as fathers and we brag to each other as such, we must accept, however, that as fathers we have not given birth to anything. As fathers, we are not that unless a woman tells us we are the father. And she can say to us, you are the father, and take it away by saying you are not the father. Just add not with are. And you have that if you get 6 or 7 marriage license, she wakes up in the bed in the morning and says, I'm pregnant. You can't say, good, you gave my child. She didn't tell you that. She said she was pregnant. She must add some other words for you to know you are a father. Of course, you can take them back in any minute, and the law will back up. He is my husband, he's not the father of my child. She could say that up to the day she gave birth to the child, and 30 years after, 70 years after, you're not the father of my child. What are you going to do about it? Insist that you're the father? People look like a damn fool. Don't want to say you're not the father of the child. That's why I keep him with my wife. I always keep my wife and say, darling, I'm still the father of the child. My wife would tell me, does the child look like you, don't it? And I always say, it looked like, but I got to get the approval from you. Because the Iceman down the block looks like me, very close. You could always find somebody look like you. And you can't prove it's your child, but she can prove it is her child because she gave birth to the child. So that makes this manhood that we're talking about very weak. So if we have any reasoning about it, we will do what's right. Constantly ask her to validate whether or not you are the father, and she will say yes or no. When she said no, just travel. Take up everything and travel. Because you have no fatherhood. And that is true throughout our life, but with our ego as men, we will insist that we are. I always insist I am because I check with her before I make the statement and get recertified by her. Thus, she is the goddess. She controls everything I do, and I constantly go to her to back check and find out if she is still saying, I am the Father. That's only time I said, I am the Father. And then look to her to see if she's going to revalidate this situation. Now, I know some of you will not do that, and then you are always up to the chance of being told you are not the Father. Then the frustration comes, you want to kill her, you want to do all kinds of things because you didn't ask her before you make the statement. You're going to assume that you're a big man. I'm no big man. I'm a little boy when it comes and asking her to validate this, because the fact is, she is the mother, and there's all kind of proof, including herself, but you are not the father in the same manner. You can only be the father when she validated and constantly re-evaluated. So the woman is the deity. She's the only one who can state emphatically she is the mother of the child, therefore the deity. If we look at it, there were times when the ancient people along the Nile validated that there was such a thing as sperm and different things like that. They did it because they were able to perform autopsy. It was not until the 19th century that the European could validate his fatherhood, or that there was a fatherhood, because it's only then that he knew what a sperm was, or sperms. It is only then that he knew there was something called sperms that commingled with something called ovum, which produced an offspring. However, he couldn't find an offspring other than in the woman. It's in the female. These are giving you all the logical explanation for the deity. It's only in the female does this situation happen, that the sperm comes down from the scrotum. That's what you would call that's connected to the male between his legs, behind the penis, connected to the top of the penis. That is the scrotum, and it is there that the sperm is manufactured. It's made. It then is released down through the shank, goes into the one fallopian, the tube, and then in there, the intersection is made with the woman's ovum. The fertilization of that, for the first time, starts what is called a baby, an infant. And we could go down to the sperm meeting with the ovum, cause that element of humanity. In the woman, not in the man. A child does not come out of the man. Sperm comes out and meets the ovum in the woman. It is only when these two things contact each other that a baby is created. The element of a baby is created in the woman, again in the woman. Therefore, she is goddess. She is God. She is everything dealing with the human being. Now, we have been taught to be jealous about this. And we created a book called the Bible, the Quran, the New Testament, and you call it whatever you want. It's still the same damn thing. You could say anything you want. Quran, Bible, and all that don't mean a damn thing without the woman being at the top. Fear, jealousy, all kinds of these things come in our mind as men, because we've been taught that. And we've taught to suppress the woman. We've been taught to show her that we got power, and some of us even get killed showing her by slapping her, kicking her, beating her up, and then here comes the butcher knife in our chest. Shock kills us. We die before we die. The shock blow our brains out. And we can't take it. The shock bore our brains out, and we're dead before we hit the ground. Yet, the question is, how do we change this? If, in fact, it is to the opposite, how do we present the evidence to show the contrary? There is no evidence to show. Unless you know, please speak up. I will give you the time to come here and explain it. And if it isn't any other way, how do we change to give the recognition and have a different life? I think that in religion, this is the problem. In religion, the problem is we say we believe, and that means the truth. A belief means we hope to have this be what we care for it to be. We believe we would have it no other way. But the reality doesn't deal with our belief. Belief is a thing that one day I hope. I know I'm not going to see reality. I'm going to see belief. I have acted most of the times on belief. And when I acted on belief, I was accepted. But when I acted on knowledge, the fact, truth, light, I've had to fight constantly because brothers aren't willing to deal with right. Brothers can't deal with right because it takes away from him a position that he've always held, and it would take away the justification for beating a woman. So it is easy for brothers, when a woman tells them, I am pregnant for you, it is easy for him to even whip her. And that's a mild term, to beat her. To crucify her with a stick, iron pipe, anything. He would beat her in that position. She could be 9 months pregnant. As a matter of fact, he'd beat the baby out. And then the other brother said, yes, brother, they're too damn fresh. You had the right to do it because your manhood was threatened. What it was threatened when he was his mama? His manhood was threatened long before that. His manhood was threatened when he was a lay dot. Not being able to see by the human eye. His manhood was threatened. All she had to do is flush his ass down the toilet bowl. You see, we never give it a thought because most of us don't even have an idea of the relationship of a baby, the father and the mother. Most of us don't have any idea of how the sperm is transferred to the vagina and goes in its sacred place, the womb. We have no idea. Most of the mothers can't tell you or can't trace the reproductive organ, much less the fathers. I've met many young girls in their 7th, their 4th, their whatnot month, and they don't know how the baby got in there. How it came about, how the sperm came in there, but they had all kind of sexual contact.
It's a little deeper.
I had no idea how she got pregnant. How it happened. She knows a penis met a vagina, and that's it. She knows she had some fun. And she's going to have a child. She's going to be a mother, but have no idea of how she's going to be a mother. She don't know how to be a mother, therefore how could she know how to, she is as a deity. And she can't deal with it because the church, the synagogue, the mosque have told her quite differently to make the man telling the story be the one that passed the child. And the story is, I pass a child and the woman have the child. So the woman become the container to deliver the birth and had nothing to do with it when she is in fact the one who's going to give the birth. The one who's going, in her, the baby is going to be made. She's going to deliver the baby because without her, there is no baby. It's a different thing. Do we then change to the truth? And when we change to the truth, does it now make the woman act as the men is acting now. And that's the riddle that society is afraid of. Society knows how it's acted all this time. And should it correct it, isn't go reverse. Because are we in society ready to teach the truth? I don't think we're ready to teach the truth. It doesn't justify, excuse me, justify the behavior in which we're doing right now. So, what do? We do what we are supposed to do in many other things which we can't do. Then do we stay in the position that we are? I should say not, theoretically. Although I recognize my wife, and if I pray, I'm going to pray to my wife. I know that sounds difficult to many of you. Yet you can go home and eat what your wife cooked. You can go home and take her treatment when you're sick. You can go home and she could do 101 million things for you which you won't go and do for yourself. And then you could pray to a hole in the wall. You could pray to a belief in the sky wind. And you can't pray to her. She got your child nursing and doing whatever, but you can't do that. But you could go and talk to Mary, who has been dead and gone umpteen years ago, and you can't tell it to your wife, who you've been laying with every night, every day. And then say, he sounds weird for the truth. But he doesn't sound weird to lie, because we're all lying. He's right in step with the truth, because the truth is a big lie that all of us telling. And when we get up and tell each other, Holy Mary, Mother of God, we can stop there. Mary is the Mother of God. Did I say Holy John, Mother of God? Did I say Holy Joseph, Mother of God? I said Holy Mary, Mother of God, Mother of a man. We call Jesus Christ. And then we say that woman can't preach in church. She could be the Mother of God, but she can't preach in her son's church. It's rough. We got a lot of changing to do. And I don't lie to me, because you know you are not ready to change that. I'm just telling you about it. Women ain't ready, much less men, to change it back to the truth. Because women are afraid of what men are going to do. If we come home and say, you come home and say, look, you are preaching something wrong, I want to change. You get an ass whipping.
You know, and
I don't want to get killed. But God wants you to be ready for when you got to start changing things, and which is now, which is yesterday. Because if you don't change it now, you're going to have to change it sometime, or your child going to have to change it sometime, because the world isn't standing still. And all those ancient things that we thought are changing. That's why when young people tell me, but I'm younger, I said, I'm in the same world with you. Though you're young, I am here in this world with you. And I'm not sleeping. Sometimes I do sleep, but I'm not sleeping now. I'm speaking to you, and I know the fact that you know, and therefore we're in the same world. Don't tell me the damn nonsense but different generation. I am here. When I die, then tell me about different generation. And these are the things that the concept of the deity and woman as the deity has to, we have to go through this. I'm sorry, thank you. We have to go through this. And we have to go through the questioning, and it's going to be a very serious thing for you to go and tell your girlfriend, your mother, your other female, these are these things. And let us deal with them to right the wrongs, to right the world, And it's going to be difficult to even tell your best friend, your twin sister, or your mother. Because your mother going to first out of shock. What? You can't be talking because Eve. And you say, what about Eve? Eve, we got to correct too. But she says, Adam gave birth to Eve. You say, how, Mama, how? Well, how, Mother, how? And Mother may not even know how she got pregnant. Now, how she going to tell you how Eve could not be born from Adam when she doesn't know how pregnancy comes? It's sad, isn't it? When we have millions of young women getting pregnant each day and they cannot trace the reproductive organs. Know nothing about it. So it means that we have to have an educational process that includes this. That with our politics, there must be education that deals with our socialization. We should have it in our sororities as well as our fraternities. Birth. Just the subject of birth. How does birth come along? And you'll be surprised how many of us have no concept at all of childbirth. And we're the fathers of 15 kids, 10 kids. I can't tell you how number 1 came about. Because if we could, there'd be less violence in the family. Less women would be, less men will beat women, especially when they're pregnant. It'll be a traumatic change with our relationship. Then women can feel safe to take a ride with any man driving down the street, 3 foot of snow, snow all over the place, can't get, and the man stop the car, you will get in. Because then you would not be afraid of your brother. As it stands now, you will get in a car driven by a lion, an African lion, and take a chance that that lion has eaten and don't want to eat you up. Then get into the car with a brother who has eaten already, but you know, as you get in and sit down, the first question, what kind of drawers you got on? That's the way it goes. Because we have been socialized that we don't say, oh, look at that goddess. Coming in, goddess, have a seat. Where do you go? To my home. Drop you off. What can I do for you? Tell your husband, when he sees a goddess, my goddess, give her a ride to the house. Right. Like I've given you a ride. That would be the good, because you aren't held up. You aren't abused. You got driven home. But it'd be hard for the company, because the automobile companies would not be able to sell as many cars. Because many women are no scared anymore. They could get a ride home. See, they will cut down the trade. So it will be too bad, and men can't afford that to happen. It will be too comfortable. They wouldn't be able to have enough jails. And you know, I mean, what's going to happen if we don't have those jails anymore? There's such a calamity that's going to come from us giving recognition to our sister. I'm no sister to her. Then they find out that we have to reevaluate relationships in the family. So when I say, that is my sister over there, you said, but doesn't she have a child for you? I said, yes, she said so, and I accepted it. And how she's your sister? I said, she's my sister. Oh, wait, man, wait. How could she be a sister of yours and have a child for you? I said, because I have a child with my sister. Man, something got to be wrong with you, brother. You have a child with your sister, then you rape her.